Look at this expanding network. As artificial intelligence models scale, the cost of generating first drafts, spotting patterns in data, and executing average knowledge work is rapidly dropping toward zero. We are entering an economy where baseline intelligence is abundant and cheap. The central question we face is no longer, what can the machine do? The real question is, what kind of human becomes more valuable because of it? For professionals, the immediate response is often to try and out-process the algorithm, to work faster, produce more, and optimize every minute. But trying to compete with a machine at being purely mechanical is a losing strategy. Your future relevance will depend on trades algorithms cannot synthesize. Making difficult judgments, demonstrating courage, and taking decisive action when the outcome remains deeply uncertain. The sudden capability of these systems forces a strict accounting of human distinctiveness. Offering only predictable, routine execution is no longer a defensible career path. To understand our distinct advantage, we have to recognize an uncomfortable parallel. At a structural level, artificial intelligence and baseline human cognition operate on remarkably similar mechanics. Neither operates in a vacuum. Both systems learn passively from what they receive. An AI ingests training data and feedback, while a human being passively absorbs cultural norms, historical narratives, and personal experiences. Because both are trained on past examples, both naturally gravitate toward what is statistically probable. They default to the safe, predictable average to avoid generating an error or facing social rejection. This creates the trap of the prompted professional. This is a person who spends their career responding to inherited instructions, chasing societal rewards, and conforming to past expectations, rather than operating from an original vision. The most pressing risk in the modern workforce is not artificial intelligence, it is natural human passivity. If your output consists entirely of predictable responses to external inputs, you are functionally operating as an algorithm. This diagram illustrates the structural overlap between algorithms and base human behavior. We have two parallel processing streams, one for the machine and one for the human. On the machine side, the system takes in massive data sets, processes them through language models, which are algorithms designed to recognize and generate text, and refines the output based on reinforcement feedback, a method of training by rewarding desired behaviors. On the human side, an individual takes in societal incentives, adjusts to cultural norms, and repeats behavioral narratives they have observed over time. Notice how both input streams converge here. They naturally resolve into a single output mechanism, pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is highly efficient for navigating known environments, but relying on it inherently limits decision-making to the safest, most widely accepted average. The biblical text of 1 Corinthians 2 calls this operating state the natural mind. A person utilizing only the natural mind processes reality strictly at the base layer of visible facts, popular consensus, and standard logic. Relying entirely on this natural mind keeps a professional constrained. It restricts human thought to the exact mechanistic layer of existence that artificial intelligence is already mastering. We can map the natural mind as operating strictly at the surface level. It is enclosed by visible evidence, immediate incentives, and current consensus. Any decision made at this level is strictly bounded, entirely unable to account for unseen realities or untested possibilities. To break out of this predictable loop requires a higher-order function. Spiritual discernment cuts directly through the surface layer to judge reality at a deeper level. This is not a shift into irrationality. Spiritual discernment is the rigorous capacity to weigh invisible truths and judge reality far deeper than surface-level patterns. An algorithm excels at predicting likely outcomes based on historical patterns. A human being must exercise discernment to judge what actually matters and what is morally correct. Because discernment draws on deeper truths, highly principled decisions often appear entirely wrong to an observer who is only evaluating the visible, short-term data. Machine intelligence can map the terrain of the probable faster than we ever could, but human relevance requires utilizing discernment to choose a destination worth reaching. Look at the resulting integration when these two levels merge. This complete alignment represents the ultimate archetype for cognition, the mind of Christ. This archetype models the flawless integration of practical, natural intelligence with deep, unshakable spiritual conviction. Reason is not destroyed by spirit, it is governed and fulfilled by it. In a professional context, faith is not vague wishing or committed action when the data is incomplete and the outcome is not guaranteed. Faith does not replace critical thinking. It provides the necessary power to absorb risk and take responsibility when thinking alone cannot remove the ambiguity of a situation. This integrated mindset is what enables a leader to act with genuine courage, making a decisive move long before a statistical precedent can guarantee success. Raw mechanical brilliance processes known inputs rapidly, but it remains brittle when the environment changes. Holistic, integrated wisdom remains stable even when the inputs are entirely chaotic. The future does not belong to the merely informed. It belongs to fully integrated individuals whose spiritual discernment and practical execution align perfectly. In practical terms, tools are actively commoditizing routine outputs. First drafts, standard meeting summaries, generic analysis, and routine ideation are now cheap and abundant. The immediate temptation is to maximize efficiency by surrendering your agency to these tools, functionally reducing yourself to a high-performing prompt follower. Yielding to that temptation carries heavy consequences. It results in shallower thinking, a complete loss of originality, and the dangerous habit of outsourcing your moral judgment to a server. As the supply of raw intelligence scales up, we are seeing the rise of the discernment premium. The market value of uniquely human traits is actively skyrocketing. The capacities that now command a premium are those a machine cannot execute: ethical clarity, taking contextual responsibility for failures, driving unprompted initiative, and building genuine relational trust. The operational rule for this era is strict. Use artificial intelligence to strip away friction and amplify your execution speed, but never allow it to dictate your moral authority or formulate your final judgments. When baseline intelligence is completely commoditized, an individual's value, both in the market and morally, will be defined entirely by their capacity for competent discernment. Modern leaders face a rigorous new test. You will no longer be judged by the sheer volume of information you can access. You will be judged by what you have the courage to refuse and what you prioritize. A team with powerful tools but weak judgment is a liability. Organizations must actively build cultures that value principled reflection and ethical decision-making, rather than rewarding rapid tool adoption alone. As an individual, you must deliberately invest time in the capacities algorithms cannot replicate: deep reading, spiritual maturity, ethical reasoning, and a high tolerance for ambiguity. Stop merely upgrading your external tools. It is time to focus entirely on upgrading your inner architecture. The scaling of artificial intelligence is not a mandate for humans to behave more like machines. It is an immediate, unyielding demand for a deeper, more grounded humanity. Let the algorithm handle the statistically probable. You bear the responsibility, the vision, and the courage to go build the possible.